Hey, and welcome into I think my fourth or fifth official mock draft. Today we're gonna be doing the post free agency mock draft. Um, this is coming obviously after we still have a bunch of guys still out there, and I've been kind of waiting to see where they're gonna go. But we're just gonna kind of go with it now. We're gonna wait a little bit for the free agents to go to do their free agency recap for the teams. We have guys like Jadeveon Clowney, Jameis Winston, Cam Newton, etc. out there. But we're going to be doing the mock draft today. Of course, leave a like on the video if you do want to see more of these mock drafts. Comment down below what your team you think your team is going to do. Love doing comments on the video. And of course, subscribe as it does help grow the channel, and I appreciate it very much. We're starting off with Joe Burrow and the Bengals. It's already locked in because that's just how easy it is. He's going there, hands down, not even a question. Joe Burrow is a Bengal. Pick 2, there's a little bit of question. They could go maybe a Tua Tagovailoa. They could trade out. I have them getting Chase Young here. At this if they stay there, just because he's a can't miss prospect. You have such young talent in the division, especially on the offensive side. So you're going to need as many defenders to stop in that NFC East. Zeke Elliott, Saquon Barkley, Carson Wentz. It's a very cool and star-powered offensive division. I don't know why it was so hard to say. But Chase Young's going to be there. Go to pick 3. I have Isaiah Simmons above Jeff Okudah, but I still think Jeff Okudah is going to be the pick. They signed Jasmine Trufant from the Falcons, and they let Darius Slay go to the Eagles. They traded him there, so you downgraded that corner. You still don't have that really lockdown corner. Jeff Okudah is going to be that lockdown corner. It's a way bigger need. He's going to be good in zone, which is what I think Patricia's going to run a lot. He's all around lockdown. I think that he's going to be the pick there. Will be your new Darius Slay, and I think he can even be above what Darius Slay was for you. Then at pick 4, offensive tackle is not going to be the move here for the Giants, as they're going best available and the biggest need, and that's Isaiah Simmons. You still have Nate Solder under contract. You signed Cam Fleming to probably play the right tackle position if you need. I think you can get an offensive tackle in the second round if anything. Go after Isaiah Simmons because there's no one in this draft like him, and he's going to lock down that linebacker position with Blake Martinez, especially running the 3-4 like the Giants have been running. It's going to be awesome to see. I'd imagine they're probably going to stay with 3-4 as well. With Patrick Graham being the new defensive coordinator, but he's going to control it for years and years to come. If the Giants pass up on him, they're going to regret it no matter who they pick. Isaiah Simmons is the pick there. Pick 5, Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. We can just lock it in at this point. He can take a year to rest and recover behind Fitzpatrick or behind Rosen, whatever they want to do with those two. But you could even play him if you do well with your picks, and if he's playing well because his physicals and his medicals are coming back very solid. He's looking decent in his clips that he's sharing, so that's really good for him. At pick 6, we have the San Diego Chargers, who can use some help at the quarterback position, but I still think that they're going to go after a Cam Newton, maybe even a Jameis Winston, or they're going to stick with a Tyrod Taylor and go into next year's class looking for a quarterback. I don't see them getting a Justin Herbert or Jordan Love here. I think it's just too high. I think it's too high. So I do have them getting the best available player, and that is going to be Andrew Thomas. That's going to help him out so much on their offensive line. Andrew Thomas is my hands-down best prospect at the tackle position. He has been for years. He's a 4-year starter. He's played left and right tackle. He knows what to do at the position. He's solid. You can plug him in and play him day one, and that's what the Chargers need, is some help on that line that can play day one. You can go after a guy like a Becton or a Wirfs or a Jedrick Wills, but those guys you may not be able to throw in right away. I think Wirfs is probably the next best to plug and play. But the other guys, I think there are a lot of upside. I think it's going to be great upside. But I just don't see a way that they can go right away as good. And I don't see them being as great as Andrew Thomas is. I think Andrew Thomas is a Tyron Smith caliber of a player. And that's just my personal opinion on Andrew Thomas. Pick 7, the Carolina Panthers. They're going to be going Derrick Brown. Love Derrick Brown. He's my 3rd best prospect in my rankings. I know it didn't really show on here. Sometimes the rankings are kind of messed up in this on the website for whatever reason. But Derrick Brown, I mean, just an absolute mauler of the football. He will break through double teams, triple teams even, get to the line, run stuff, anything you need him to do. And they need some sort of help in this Panthers defense. A lot of people left, a lot of people retired. You need some help. Derrick Brown can transcend that defense. I think he's going to look great in that silver and blue, and I think he's going to do very good. Now, Cardinals, they need an offensive tackle. Could go Mekhi Becton here, but I think that he's too locked in at left tackle. I don't see him being able to switch to right. So you have Wirfs and you have Wills. It's pretty much depending on who you think is the better player. You can play him at right tackle. They both played right tackle. Wills was protecting the blind side of Tua, which is very enticing, but I'm still going to go Wirfs here. Apologies. I think he's a guy, like I said, you can plug and play right away, and that's what they need at that right tackle position. There's a glaring hole. You need to be able to plug and play and do well right away. And with how amazing that offense is going to be next year to watch, with Kenyon Drake back there, DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk, it's going to be so much fun. Protect Kyler Murray and get yourself a guy like Tristan Wirfs. Now at pick 9, there's a lot of places they can go here. They could go receiver, help out the receiving core. They could go in the secondary some type. But I say they go with another top 10 player, Javon Kinlaw. Unfortunately, Derek Brown doesn't fall to them. Javon Kinlaw is the next best thing. He is a beast. I've seen people compare him to Chris Jones. This is such a strong interior defensive line class, and the position's kind of devalued at this point with how the current NFL is. They're kind of seen as plug in the middle. These guys, Javon Kinlaw and Derek Brown, are so much more than that. They can disrupt a complete offensive line, and that's what Kinlaw's going to do for the Jags. As they let go of Darius, they let go of Campbell. They got to do something to fix it. So that's what they're going to do. And at pick 10, we need offensive line help for the Browns. For any hope for Browns fans to see that Baker Mayfield was the right pick at pick 1, we're going to take Mekhi Becton for him. He's kind of a Browns pick. He's exactly what they're looking for. You look at him, they like those guys where there's risk for some reason. They like having that risk. And they have a nice offensive weapon in Hooper that they just got. Nick Chubb is back there. You got to protect him somehow. So Mekhi Becton's going to be the pick here. I think he's strong. He's agile. He can work on a few things. I still see Mekhi Becton being a solid pick for them. Hopefully he pans out the way that the Browns hoped he could. And the Jets are just so happy at pick 11 that there's one of the top 4 offensive linemen still there in Jedrick Wills. As at this point, the guys in the middle of the pack are looking like, dang, we're either going to have to reach for an offensive lineman or we're going to have to trade down. The Jets are lucky enough to be able to protect Sam Darnold a little bit more. It's not the sexy pick. You know, you could go to replace a Robbie Anderson with a CeeDee Lamb or a Jerry Jeudy, and I think that could be a very solid pick for them as well. But that glaring hole at offensive line is just too big. They signed some people, but I think you can get a receiver in the second round if you need. Jedrick Wills is going to be the pick. And then at pick 12, people who can't afford to wait until the second round, you have 2 first-round picks, not too far away, as we can see their logo there. Las Vegas Raiders, CeeDee Lamb, lock that one in. That's one of my favorite picks, one of my lockdown picks for the mock draft. Until I see otherwise, until I see CeeDee climb the charts even more than he has, he is an explosive guy. I always say, and I say it every video, Jerry Jeudy is my comparison of a ceiling is to Devontae Adams. CeeDee Lamb is a comparative to DeAndre Hopkins for a ceiling. They're 2 great receivers, Pro Bowl receivers, All-Pro receivers, just depending on how you want them. Raiders need a guy like a DeAndre Hopkins. They're going for CeeDee Lamb. They probably have some battle scars from the last Alabama receiver they picked as well, who's been doing pretty well in his new hometown. Now you go over to an interesting one, pick 13, the San Francisco 49ers, who got this pick by trading DeForest Buckner. Now, you're not going to fill that hole. You do have a corner as a big hole here, but I say you go Jerry Jeudy, because at this point in time, if you stay at this pick, Jerry Jeudy is so beyond the next receiver, which is crazy because, I mean, Jerry Jeudy's a beast, and there's so many good receivers, but having Jerry Jeudy on your team could transcend everything. I think you can get a corner later in your pick 31 to where he will be sufficeable compared to what you would get flip-flopping around. Jerry Jeudy and Deebo Samuel will be so much fun. You got to fill that Emmanuel Sanders hole. Dante Pettis just didn't have a good year. Marquise Goodwin just isn't doing as well as we all hoped he would. I say go Jerry Jeudy. Now, this one I've thought about for a while, and it's going to get some backlash probably. Now, the smart thing, I think, in my personal opinion, is going DeAndre Swift. That is the smartest thing I think they could do, is going DeAndre Swift here. But I have them taking Henry Ruggs III out of Alabama. Tom Brady is going to be here for 2 years. 2 years, you have Tom Brady. Why not make it the best offense possible around him? Ronald Jones showed flashes. If you really want another running back, go get Devontae Freeman. Go get somebody that's still out there. But if you tell me you have Mike Evans, a big play guy, strong, he's going to go up and catch the ball at 6'5". Chris Godwin, great route runner, big play guy as well. And then Henry Ruggs, who's another big play guy, but his speed. Those are 3 big play guys, all in separate categories of a big play guy. That is insane. Brady would love to have that. It's a complete 180 from what he had in New England. Now that you have Tom Brady, get yourself a weapon like Henry Ruggs. I think that would be the most fun offense to watch. I think that Brady would love throwing to Henry Ruggs as well. As well as there's not many offensive tackles to go. You could go after a Josh Jones, but I just see that as too big of a reach at this point. Now, pick 15. Justin Herbert is on the board, but I think that they like what they have in Drew Lock, and I don't blame them for it. I think it's a solid pick. You look at, they can go receiver, they can go corner here. There's a lot of places they could go. When you look down, there's not many receivers I have this high, maybe a Justin Jefferson, but I'm going to have the Broncos selecting C.J. Henderson. Chris Harris is gone. You need to fill a little bit of a hole. I think C.J. Henderson is a beast. I think he's going to do very well. Tackling's not really his biggest thing, but I think he's going to transcend that defense just a little bit more. I think that defense is going to be needing a little bit more help. You're getting Bradley Chubb back this year, which is going to be huge for them. I think that's going to be really cool to see C.J. Henderson line up across from the other receivers in that division. Now you go over to pick 16, where the Falcons are in the same spot. They need a corner, man. Trevon Diggs out of Alabama is probably your next best bet. And I'm looking and I'm trying to find maybe an Epinesa or a K'Lavon Chaisson. I saw someone say K'Lavon Chaisson, so I'm trying to learn that. That might be wrong as well, but I'm still going to have them taking Trevon Diggs. I think corner's just too big of a need for them. They can't go anywhere else, and that's what they got to do. Now, pick 17. You're in a weird position because Dak's on a franchise tag. You don't know how he is. If these two quarterbacks are still there, it's very possible to go after a guy like a Justin Herbert or a Jordan Love and not pay Dak because you do have a lot of contracts on the board. Do I think they'll do it? I don't know. I don't know if I want to do it, but I think I'm going to give him the safe pick. AJ Epinesa out of Iowa. I think he's just too good of a pick. They need edge rushers. They need help. I think that he's better than Chaisson, in my opinion. I think he's a beast. He'll fill in that Robert Quinn role pretty well, in my personal opinion. Now we go over to pick 18, where the Dolphins can't afford to wait on an offensive tackle because they've been going off the board. They're going to have to reach on one and get Josh Jones here at pick 18. It's a reach. It is. But unfortunately, you have to go for that, and I think that's the best thing you can do. Now, corner is a big need for the Raiders. I think they could fill that. And there's a lot of ways they could go here. Interior defensive line, we kind of seen them go. Neville Gallimore still on the board. You know, they already filled the wide receiver hole. Maybe a safety would work, but I think Jonathan Abrams is going to bounce back from that injury. So I think we're going to have to reach on a corner here. At least in my personal opinion, is a reach. And that's going to be Christian Fulton, who out of LSU, he has some concerns with, he was suspended last season and all that. I think John Gruden and Mike Mayock can figure that out and do well. I think Fulton will end up being a solid corner for them. Now at pick 20, the Jags are looking at it like, damn, we really wanted a Christian Fulton because he would have replaced A.J. Bouye and Jalen Ramsey, who we just had to get rid of this year. So you look over there. Now you do have quarterbacks if you did want to go and not believe in the Minshew magic. But I think Minshew's the guy. I think he proved last year that he's going to be solid enough. You're going to go after a safety, and I think you're going to go after the best safety in the class, in my personal opinion, Xavier McKinney out of Alabama. He's going to be the pick. Now, pick 21, the Eagles need a receiver. They need a linebacker. They need a corner. Well, let's just look down here. There's a couple linebackers. I still think receiver is going to be their biggest need because it's just been really poor. Justin Jefferson at LSU. His combine helped him. The national championship helped him. He is a solid receiver, and I think he's a first-round grade at this point. Now you go over to the Minnesota Vikings. Corner is their biggest need as well. A lot of corners in need, but wide receiver is just as big of a need. Now, do you go for a guy like a T. Higgins? T. Higgins and Adam Thielen would be kind of cool, but you don't really have a weapon in that offense, which you're kind of missing. So I'm going to have them taking Denzel Mims out of Baylor. With no Diggs, you got to fill that hole. Denzel Mims is going to fill that hole, and you know that the next pick is going to be Justin Herbert. He's still on the board, and I don't think he's going to fall that far, let's be honest. But those other teams, I just don't see them needing a quarterback, at least at this point. Then you go over to the New Orleans Saints. That division is insane. There's a couple ways you can go with this. You can get a Jordan Love here. You got 2 more years of Breeze. You let Jordan Love sit behind him, and you do well. But they've believed in Taysom Hill to this point. I don't see that stopping now. So they're going to get a linebacker. Who is it going to be? It's between Queen and Murray. I think that Kenneth Murray is going to be the pick here. I love Patrick Queen. I think he would do really good with the black and gold. But I think that Kenneth Murray can cover so much. He's got so much coverage speed. And I think that's just going to be a better pick for them in the long run to hopefully get them over the hump there. Then we go over to the Vikings again, which is obviously their real pick. The other pick was from the Bills. They still need a corner. There's a couple guys that can go here. Gladney, Igbinoghene, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a toss up. I'm gonna give him Gladney. I really like Noah though, out of Auburn. I think he's very solid. Then you go over to the Dolphins again. Interior offensive line is a big need for them. Safety is a big need for them. Edge is a big need for them. They need all those things. I'm gonna give them Grant Delpit. Still on the board, solid pick for the Dolphins. Then we need an edge rusher here to replace Jadeveon Clowney, unless he goes back at this point. We don't even know. K'Lavon Chaisson's still on the board, which is somebody that I don't think they'll pass up on. They hope LJ Collier comes back and it can be what they wanted him to be last year. I just don't know if it will be. That's what we're going to have them doing. Now at pick 28, they need a linebacker in Baltimore. They need a receiver in Baltimore as well. I'm going to give them Patrick Queen. I think he's a first-round grade. They can go for a guy in the second round, and it might be just as well. Then you go over to 29. A couple needs here for the Titans. I think the biggest need for them is that interior defensive line help. Edge is kind of a help, kind of a need as well, but I think that they could use interior more than the edge, in my personal opinion. I'm going to give him Neville Gallimore. He can kind of move around, but I think Neville Gallimore will be able to fill it a little bit more. You could go for a guy like a Zach Bond as well, or maybe a Gross Matos, but that's where I see them going. Pick 30. I have the Packers. Ooh, do we want to give them a receiver? We look at the receivers left. T. Higgins, I just don't think fits the offense. I don't think they want. Brandon Ayuk would probably be their best bet. Man, I think with him still on the board, even though we've already talked about it, it's a thing, I'm going to give him Jordan Love out of Utah State. Have him sit a couple years. We don't know when Rodgers is going to call it quits. Rodgers has been hurt a lot too. I think that getting Jordan Love, he'll progress behind one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He'll be able to do what Rodgers did behind Brett Favre. And I think that would be really cool for them. It's not what you want as a Packers fan. You probably want a weapon or something like that. This is probably a place where you could even trade down. But getting Jordan Love secures your future. And being this late in the first round, I don't see it being that much of a bad waste of a pick. We've seen a lot of, like you said, Rodgers was behind Favre. Mahomes was behind Alex Smith. Lamar was behind Flacco. It happens all the time. It's kind of been tossed away in this sense that quarterbacks, as soon as they come into the league, need to start. They need to start. No, they can sit behind people, learn, and do well. And that's why I think that the Packers will get out of Jordan Love if he's still there at this point. This whole mock draft is kind of going to end up weirder and weirder until we kind of get a grasp of everything. But I think that Jordan Love being there at 30 is going to be a perfect fit for them. Then at pick 31, we talked about it before, they're going to need a corner. No one is saying that Sherman's going to get any younger because we know he's not. They didn't really do too particularly well on the other side with Witherspoon or whoever they wanted to throw back there in that sense. So we're going to take Noah out of Auburn. I learned his last name. I forgot it at this point because it's just his parents were track stars. He's a speed demon. I think that he's going to be great in that system. And if they walk out of here with Jerry Jeudy and a solid number 2 corner, 49ers might be right back in the Super Bowl next year. And then at pick 32, again, another corner is needed. I just don't see a way you can reach on these guys. Maybe a Damon Arnett, AJ Terrell. But I think you need interior offensive line to replace what you had in, was it Wisniewski that left? I'm going to give him Tyler Biadasz to end out the first round for the Chiefs. That is going to be my mock draft here. This was all live, nothing planned. It was kind of just going with the flow, making the picks. Let me know what you think about what your team could do. Let me know how you think your mock draft would pan out. Of course, leave a like on the video if you did enjoy. Leave a subscription as well, because we're going to be doing more mock drafts, more free agency, more opinions. Leave your comments down below. And if you did like the video, like I said, leave a like. If you didn't, just refresh the page, go through it again, see if you like it the second time. And without further ado, that is going to be it for me. I'll see you guys in the next video.